Hello, hi everyone. Hi Cynthia, welcome.
Hey Rachel, it's good to be
Hello.
here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm so glad you could join us for some of our holiday. Let's see, I'm getting an echo. What is one moment?
Echo.
Where am
Is it
I? Oh,
on?
I see. No, 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 it's me. It's me. I'm all fixed. Sorry, guys. All right. I had the video playing on a separate tab. That's not going to work. Um,
Everything got too.
All right, I'm back. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm so glad we could have Cynthia join us in our holiday time of beading. We've been doing a lot of extra classes these last few weeks. We're in the creative spirit, so I'm glad you could help us.
Yeah, I've been making a lot of things. I don't know about everyone else. Is
Yeah,
a lot of makers joining us today? It kind of looks like I see a lot of familiar names there. A lot of my friends joining in.
y-
Nice.
yeah.
I wonder if people are
Have you
making
been
like
making? Yeah, have you been making like for shows for holiday shows?
Yes, I've been making for. So I just finished a big show in Asheville called The Big Crafty, and it's one of the largest shows in our region. And it was jam packed, and I made a bunch of necklaces and rings, of course, and I didn't make as many earrings, even though that's like the easiest thing. It's funny, I just wasn't in an earring mood. It was all necklaces
Yeah.
and a lot of knotted necklaces. So
Hmm.
I'm going to show you guys today some of my tips and tricks for doing it quickly. So I will say when I first learned how to knot, probably 20 years ago by now, I did not have a lot of success and I hated it. I hated it and I never wanted to do.
Really?
Yes, I hated it because I was always making my necklaces too short. Too short because they you're supposed to do it so you count up the old way, and or it's still. I mean, you can still do it. There's no reason you can't do it this way, but you would add an inch for every knot that you'd make. You probably
Mm,
heard this,
okay.
and I think you add an inch for or a half inch for a bead. So you measure out how many beads you have, and then you count how many knots you're going to need for between, and then that's how you'd measure out the amount of thread you're going to need for your project. And inevitably, even adding like 3 feet, I'd always somehow come up short. I don't know how, even adding that,
Yeah.
it would
Yeah.
always be like this much short.
Oh
Like
my
I'd
gosh.
so you could get, I'd be like, okay, so this is not even a choke. This is going to
Yeah.
be something I'm going to have to go Sundance style. I always suspected, you see those necklaces at Sundance where they add that little extra bit of leather to each end. I was like, I know why
Mm,
they did that because they didn't make it long enough. They didn't
yeah.
make it add that cord to the end to fill it out. So to avoid this, I did a lot of, I had all these beads that like I love like prayer beads, strands and malas and things. And I was like, I'm gonna get this. And I made a
Mm,
lot of really ugly knotted necklaces. And I finally came up with a strategy to make it so that I could get nice tight knots that didn't have
mm.
a big lag and a big space in between. So I'm going to show you how to do that when if you want to get started, we
Well,
can.
yeah, I'll just share a few more things. So, for folks who don't know, this is Cynthia from Green Girl Studios. Her and her family design and make incredible metal components that you can use in your jewelry. You've been doing this for many years now, and I mean, I just love the style that you have in your pieces. It's so cool. And
Thank you.
so I sent you over a little bundle of goodies, a lot of gems, a little check glass, and wanted to see how you could take that and one of your really cool Green Girl Studios components and put it together. So, I mean, I see you posting your like knotted, hand knotted necklaces all the time. Like, I think you're one of the queens of knotting
Uh,
on the jewelry webs. And so, I just really wanted folks to have a chance to like learn from you and sort of see your both design process and technical process doing all that. So that's the goal for today. Yeah.
awesome. And
Awesome.
and, and
Yeah.
you know what? It's fun and not too terribly difficult. So that's
Yeah.
a win in my opinion.
Exactly. All right. I will, if you want to flip your camera around, I'll make myself the main layout here for a sec. Cynthia's going to flip her camera around so we can see all the beads. You might have seen it in the thumbnail. I went for this like kind of metallic-y, pink, moody theme. Usually you think of pink, I guess, is very just like very feminine and colorful. And I don't know, I took it in a little bit of a different direction. So I'll be curious what everyone thinks of these colors. But it was a lot of fun just I think I just like went around our inventory and was just like, okay, what excites me? What looks good together? Um, so yeah, let's see what Cynthia came up with. Okay, I think you just have to adjust, Cynthia, the
Oh,
your camera might be locked in the position.
here we go. I
Cool.
think I've got it now.
Awesome.
You know, I've done this many times and it's always, really
Yeah, there's always
fun.
something. Yeah. Oh, technology is the best, isn't it?
So fun. All right, let me see if I can get a little closer. I think that's
Sounds
as, I don't know
good.
if you have that kind of technology to make it like zoom in,
Well, yeah,
but
I'll make you the center stage here. All right.
okay, let me
Well,
get
what's so cool is
that.
we actually got to show everyone what you made. We have a finished piece of where we're heading.
Oh, good. All right, so this is what, when I looked at the beads that I was sent, and I love them, by the way, they're really cute,
Thank
especially these.
you.
They kind of remind me of opals, and I love that.
Yeah.
And then this is strawberry quartz, very pretty.
Hmm. Oh, I mean, I love the focal that you made, bringing like your sun element together with our pyrite moon. Like it's
Hmm.
that celestial feel. It's so cool.
I, I'm really happy with how this turned out. And then I did this really easy, like, I guess you'd call it a toggle. This piece is one that I make, but you
Hmm.
can use pretty much anything that a button would work, or any type of simple clasp. But I do like not having to do, having to have a dedicated, like a lobster claw, but you could use
Hmm.
anything that works. What
Yeah.
I have strung on is nylon. Now, was this a kit that you have that people can get from, like, that's already made up? Because
So
this came with,
folks, I have a web page with all the different items that you're using in today's design. So folks can pick up they can pick and choose what they like. So the cord that you're going to show is the most important, the beadalon, belon, nylon cord. We sell that in a pack of three with the black that you used. And then all the beads so that the strawberry quartz chips, those check glass faceted melons, the mosaic quartz, all of that you can grab to copy this design for yourself.
and it's fun and easy, real fun and easy. So what I did was I halved up the beads that I was sent, and used this half to make this necklace. And it was a fun design challenge. So when
Hmm.
you're working, if you're ever in a state where you're kind of stumped for a project, do a limited palette. There's nothing that boosts creativity like having to work with something and challenging yourself to work within those parameters, you know? So what I've done here is I have taken a little bit of this product, which is used to seal hems. Like if you can't sew or hem, you can use this on your pants or whatever. They call it fray check, and it's to keep things from unraveling. And you can get this anywhere. And I use this to make a needle with this.
Interesting.
So what I did here, you can use one strand or you can use two. So I have two of these cords together. See, the other one is over here. And you can use these things that you can get to wind it and keep it from, you know, unraveling. And it's called a cord minder or a cord keeper or something. My friend Kate sent me those. And so what I've done is I've added, and I'm going to show you what I've done here. So I already put a little bit on this, and you can see it's quite stiff. It'll take a few minutes, but let me see if I have another one where I can show you. Or I'll just do it here. Is you take a little bit of the glue, and this is not like super glue, so it's not going to be so terrible on your fingers. And I'm just running a little bead along this, and I'm going to make it about that long. I guess that's about 8 inches or so. So I already went over it once, and I want a nice firm needle. So I'm doing that, and then I'm going to let it sit here for a second and firm up. And while I'm doing that, it'll take like a minute or something. I've already done one round to soak it in like 5 minutes ago while I was chatting with Rachel. And so this is already, it's still firming up. So this glue will make it so that these two strands of cord, there's two on here, of this nylon cord, but you can do one if you want. You can absolutely do one. If say you have very, very small holes in your beads. These have very generous holes. And so I really didn't have to do like one strand. I could get away with doing the two. And the benefit of doing two strands is that you get a nice, even, like knot. So I'm going to take these off the strand.
And it sounds, is it nylon cord that you recommend?
You can use whatever you have. You don't have to use nylon. You can use, say, if you like only natural fibers, you can use silk, you can use hemp, you can use cotton. But I will say that in my years of making necklaces, the thing that holds up the best is the nylon. Nylon just has it's like, I don't know, almost, I mean, you have to, you can't pull this apart, this thread. Like if you tried to break it, like sewing thread, you can't break it. And it just holds up. Sometimes silk will stretch, and that has to be accounted for. And if you have things that stretch, sometimes hemp can wear out. The same with cotton. But I haven't actually had to replace cords made with nylon, so it has become my favorite. And it comes in a lot of colors, but I prefer, if I have it, I like black or like a natural cream color. Just depends. You don't really see a lot of the cord here. So on this one, I used a single thread, but I double knotted in between. And it takes longer to do it this way, which is why I like to double up the cord. So let's see if this is ready. You can already see that it's getting pretty stiff. I can feel that it's a little soft. So I'm going to give it another minute while I get these beads organized.
It really does look like a needle. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's two cords stuck together. Now, one of the things is if you keep going over it and over and over it, you're actually removing the glue. So what I would say is just put out a layer. Like if you have the glue coming in on it, just put in a thin layer, stretch it like this, and then let it sit for a minute. You can hang it off the edge of your table too. But while this is setting, we could talk about the beads here and how I organize them. So one of the things that I noticed was that this palette kind of picked up, like this was a good gateway between these colors. See, there's a little bit of bronzy, like a bronzy glow, and that picks up in this. Like there's I think bronzite here in this matrix, in this mosaic quartz, it looks like. So I thought it was a good segue. And I loved the color of this. Now, I like when I have these kind of like flattened disc type beads, I like them in groups like this. I don't know, that's just my personal preference. And I like how the colors kind of are blocked. Obviously, you can mix and match to get a different effect. Like you could go 3 of these and 1 of this, or you could actually go random. And that could be kind of cool, So don't be afraid.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I picked one way. I color blocked this, but I don't think that's strictly, necessary to do. And it can be, you know, a little, it can be one of the longest parts of the process, I think, can actually be laying out the beads. You know what
Oh,
I
for
mean?
sure. Yeah, trying to
And
decide the order to put them in. Eventually, you
I
just have to
know.
commit and be like, all right, I'm just gonna go for it.
I'm just gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I'm going to change it up because I like the look of these, but I think instead I'm going to try a little bit different of a path, and I'm going to put these on the edge and these guys in the middle because I don't know, I just favor them. So what I like to do is have all the beads that I'm going to have, and I put them, I have a bead board that I usually use, but I like this one, I wanted to use it. So let's see. All right, there should be 11 on each side. And I'm making little groupings here. All right, this is ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to string everything first. That's one of the things. I'm going to trim this to make it nice and sharp.
You're already surprising me. So we're gonna string all the beads on to start?
Yep,
Wow,
exactly.
okay.
Why
This is
you're going
so
to see why
cool.
you're going to see why this is going to be fast. All right, I set my optimizers down. I don't know what I do. Oh, here they are. All right, so
And you still have right now you still have your cord on the spools, but I guess if someone, had to cut off two pieces of this from their spool, they could just add something to the end, a piece of tape or a stopper, right, to
mm,
help them out.
no, you don't want to cut it. You don't need to cut it. In fact, you don't cut it. Do not cut it
Okay.
because that kind of defeats the purpose. If you cut it, then you're going and you're doing the old school method
Oh, I see.
of knotting, in which case you need to pre-measure and make sure you have the right amount of cord because it'll be too short. This way, you can make it as long as you want. And if you add extra to the end, which is what I do, I add
Mhm.
like this needle here. I've made this about 8 inches. If you make it shorter, you have less options. Making it longer means you can continuously, like if it gets frayed out at the top, you can snip it and get a sharp point again, you
All
know?
right, okay, I'm glad I asked. Okay, so it's
Mhm.
actually beneficial to keep it on the spool, so
Don't
getting
cut.
two spools of the same of the same colors is useful.
Now, right, and you don't need, here's the other good thing, is you don't need the cords. Check this out. Here's the best thing. These two cords, they're different weights. Can you see that?
Mhm.
So this is the one you sent me, and it's plenty and it's thick enough, but I like the extra security of having, move this over, the extra security of the double strand. And the benefit of the second strand is that you can get a tighter knot and I don't have to use tools.
Mm.
So if you do one single strand, you may need to get an awl or something sharp to guide your knots into the right location. Because if you've ever knotted, one of the challenges is to get that knot where you want it to be.
Oh,
That's like
yeah.
one of the big things that makes it kind of difficult. So I like to string up everything first. Well, that's how you have to
Okay.
do it. This is in most
Alright, so
crochet.
I love this, we're getting so many knotting hacks today, so I think the one that I'm hearing right now is, especially if you're newer to knotting, having 2 cords is gonna make it so much easier to get your knot to end up where you want it to be than just having
Correct.
1 cord. So that's
Mm-hmm.
that's a gr so if you're a beginner to this, I think that's a great way to start.
Okay, so now what I'm doing, so if you look at this, this is a two strand this side, right?
Mhm.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these last beads. That's going to be the middle part right here. These five. I'm going to change
Okay,
position.
we're getting to the middle, got it.
We're getting to the middle. So here's the thing that I like to do. Get into the middle. Almost there. And that took not too long because I already had this pre-planned. So if I were to do this, you know, then I would have to, looks like I'm missing one. So we'll do 4 on each side. All right, so this is the middle part where I would add this. So to remind me where that's going to be, I'm going to put one of these big, this has a big old honkin', look at that big hole. That's so good for leather. This red tiger eye, it's really pretty. That's like a perfect amount for a bracelet.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be my reminder bead. That's so I know when to stop. And I will show you why you want to do that.
Okay.
So I'm going to add the second side.
And this is actually what I was wondering with the knotted necklace. I was like, well, because oftentimes, you want to be able to string it out, see what it looks like. Then you can always unstring and put stuff back on. And I was like, well, with a knotted necklace, you can't change your mind. But it seems like this is the stage where you actually can. You can string it all on and then decide, actually, I want to flip the order of something.
Well, when I finished mine, I was like, I think I would have liked a breakup between these two shapes right in here. Because this is kind of a similar shape, and it might be fun to break it up. And this part I think is fast. This part stringing, this is the fast part. The longest part of this project is laying out and deciding how you want your beads to go. Because, you can't really, once you've got them strung on, you can take them all off, but you can't change like one or two of them. You know what I mean? Like
it's a lot of work to change it.
Yeah, there's no changing it. It's in the middle and it's not. And it's not easy to add cord. You know what I mean? Like you can't.
Yeah.
You can add if you have if there's like several strands, but to a necklace that's on what looks like one strand, you cannot do. There's not a lot of wiggle room. So you have to kind of pre-plan this in such a way where you kind of know what you're doing ahead of time. And for that, I suggest a board that has rows on it that you can kind of look at your project. Mine are all full right now of projects that I've already laid out. So I have like 7 of them. And they have little holes or grooves where all the beads are lined up, and you can kind of plot and plan where you're going with it. So
I want to give a little just shout out to everyone for joining us at class today. I see we just hit 100 people watching. Looks like most people are joining us on the Sam's Beach Shop YouTube channel, but we also have about 20 people on the Sam's Beach Shop Facebook page, another 20 people on the Green Girl Studio Facebook page. So thank you all so much for joining wherever you're joining from.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy when we have a big group. It just feels nice to not, feel like you're, speaking into the void.
No, I'm seeing the comments and folks are like, someone was saying like, oh my God, I have not tried knotting. It seems scary. So people are here and they're excited.
All right, so now I've got everything on and I have this needle hooked up here. It's still on the end. I'm not going to cut this off. I'm going to keep it. Okay. All right. So push down a little bit further so that I can have a little bit extra. See that? When you have a little bit extra, it makes your life a little bit easier. So the first knot is going to be along this side, and you're going to see why this is so useful. Everything is strung. There's plenty of cord over here that it's looped on. You could actually wind this up and take it with you in a plastic bag, and the beads aren't going to go anywhere. So it's a good travel project. You could do this in the car. All right, so your first knot is just a regular standard knot. Just a standard knot. And the two easily make this nice firm knot. And then you could take each leg and pull it. Did you see how I did that? I pulled that. So you have a knot that's not going to pull outward. With one strand, this is one of the things you're going to be dealing with, is this little bit of a gap, because it's almost, I would say, like you need tools or something to get to slide the knots where they need to go. And if it stretches at all, then you're going to have even more of a gap. And that gap is not that Here's where you can see it, right in here. There's a little bit of a gap where the two knots kind of came apart. You won't have that problem with this method. Okay, so I'm going to do this slowly so you can see. So here's the first bead slid on to, and I have that first knot holding it in place. I'm going to use my finger, pull from this. First, I'm going to give myself a little leeway so I have plenty of room. I'm pulling all these beads and putting them at the end here, just so I have a little bit of play. This is what I'm talking about. So it's not right, the beads aren't right up against it. So here, I'm going to move this out of the way so there's no distractions. So I've got this, and then I use my pointer finger to grab a hold, turn. I've made a loop, and then you put the bead and the end, and I'm using my fingers to hold it. See how I'm doing that? And then I'll use these two to the knot, or this loop that I was just using. I'm pulling it slowly. And then there's a little bit of a movement there where it's not quite tight. Separate it and pull it like this. See that?
Now
That
it's right
bead isn't
against the
going
bead.
Yeah, I didn't use tools. I didn't use anything. Right up against it. And I pulled that tight. Look at that. That bead didn't go in anywhere. All right, then you slide the next one down. See that? Tight. Pull, twist, and then like stick the whole thing right through. It's like a little rabbit hole. And then pull it in such a way where you don't have to be right up on it. It can be like that. And in this case, this is where you would have a tool like this to slide the knot down if you have one, but you don't need it with this because then you can go like this. And there
Okay,
you
so
have your second.
when you're first making the knot, you want to get it close to the bead, but you don't have to worry about getting it perfect. Just as long as
You
you get it
don't. It doesn't have to be perfect because you can use the two legs to open it. So you have the two strands make it actually easier. The hardest part of this whole process is designing the way you want those beads to lay down on the necklace. That's the most time-consuming part of this whole project.
And yeah,
The
would you do this
knotting
one
is
in
not the
slow
hard
motion
part.
again? Or the next one? Do the
Okay.
next one in slow motion. I think the biggest thing for folks is seeing some of your hand positions. Obviously, you don't have to do it exactly the same, um, but I think it's nice for people to see how you like to put it in your hands.
Okay, I'm going to go slowly one more time.
Or a couple
Actually,
more
I'm going to
times.
go slowly, like many times. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
one.
we don't
But
need to
see,
go
look how
fast
there's a
yet.
little bit of a gap there. Easy to fix. See that? Okay, so I just use one finger to pull, turn, drop through. And as I drop through, I'm using my thumb and forefinger to keep the loop open, drag the rest of it through that needle. And then I put my fingers here to hold that loop and slide it into place. See that? And then take it and then open. And once you get the hang of it, now see here I didn't pull tight enough and you get a little bit of a play there, but you can just easily see I'm holding it and then there's no gap. Check back and see no gaps. But you can see here several gaps, because this is double knotted, because you have to have double knot, because the holes are big on these beads, which is wonderful. But sometimes if you do a single knot on a single cord, it is, the holes will just slip through, and then you have to double knot it because it won't hold.
So in your original version, you did it with a single cord? Is that
Yes.
right? Got it.
Now, if you like, sometimes, yes, Lynn is asking, how do I choose a single cord? You choose that depending on the size of your bead holes. If you're trying to knot like 3 millimeter beads, you won't have room to put like 2 cords through. Hey, Max. All right. I'll show you again, Patricia.
Yeah,
Okay, slid one
do us
down.
in slow motion again. Perfect.
All right, I'm holding that bead in place. One finger to hold it. See how I'm making that loop? Put the whole thing through. And then there, see that loop is still in place. Use your two fingers to guide the knot that's going to, this loop will become your knot. So it can't go way out here. See my fingers here are holding it. And then once it's ready, and once I can feel it, I'm using the feeling of it against the bead. This opens up and you open it. Open the legs up of that so that it slides into place. If you get a little bit of, if there's any kind of extra around the top, look at your work, and then if see there's a little bit of loose, tighten it up. Okay, I'm going to show you again. You put your finger through the loop. Yes, I'm making a loop. All right, so here's the bead. It's loose, and I'm holding it by the neck of the. Okay,
The
holding,
cord.
and I grab this. This is going to be the knot. This is the knot right here. Twist. This is the knot. The rest of the things come through the loop, which you kind of pull through like that, or the whole thing. You have this. And there it is. It's a very easy movement, but it does take time because most of us have been taught to use tools and things and feel like we have to use them, or we have to get an awl, or we have to direct the knot. But it's not necessary if you have two threads. All right.
Well, I'm glad we showed folks that in slow-mo. If folks, need to see it again, and once we're done here live, this video will be available on YouTube, on Facebook for replay, so you can go back and watch it as many times as you need to. So yeah. Oh, what happened here?
Okay, so I was reading a comment and I pre-tightened. So this is a gap. This is a good learning moment because
Yeah.
I tightened too soon because I was looking at I was reading a comment about the pearl sizes. So yes, Bonita, that you will be able to use this technique, but you will have to do, and yeah, you can use a single string, but if you use a single string, you're going to have an awl or something to guide your knots because there's no way to get them close enough to the bead. But say if you go you go too far out and you're not paying attention, just like I did, you're going to have to open that up again. And I have to use like this little awl in order to get in there because my nails aren't sharp enough to go in and guide it loose. Okay, so now I've kind of freed that space up. See that now? It's a little, I've loosened up that knot.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can slowly guide it back down to where you want it to be and then tighten it against the bead. So it's close enough, I think. And then I'm going to tighten this up. You see how I did that? So then I was able to
Yeah.
fix it.
Cool. All right. Well, why don't you get us to the stopper bead in the middle? You can show us. I mean, at this point, you've done so many of these. I'm sure you can zoom through. But yeah, take us through to that point. And yeah, as I was saying, if you are new to knotting and these techniques are brand new to you, definitely recommend watching this on replay. You can go back and rewatch as many times as you need. But here's how I'm sure when Cynthia's preparing for a show, you're just on like a speed demon
This
going
can go
through
fast.
these knots.
Fast. The knotting
Yeah.
part is not the fat, but that's the fast. This is the fast part.
Mm-hmm.
Especially once you get the hang of it, you can do this forever.
I really love that this is a project that's really like travel friendly, like bring it on a
Yes,
bus, in a car, on a plane, at a concert, I don't know, like at a picnic. Like it's so like do your designing at home and get it strung up and then do the knotting when you're out and about.
Exactly. And I have these ready to go in my pocket or purse. There's always a knot project.
I mean, I always need something to fidget with, so I think I'm gonna have to start one of these projects.
Oh yeah, it's great. I would say too, though, put down something soft so you don't have to, like It's you don't have that rattling of the beads.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sound.
So we kind of love the sounds of beads. I think we all love it here.
Oh yeah, I don't mind, but I don't know. That kind of on that plastic was kind of,
Yeah.
you don't want to chip anything. Okay, the answer about the pearls depends on the size of your holes. That's always the case. If you have really tiny holes, you're limited in what you can put through there. If you have super tiny, you're going to have to use really small cord, or you're going to have to drill your pearls out, and that's a little bit different lesson. And
Yeah,
I've
there's
done that.
probably some things to think about when you're doing pearl knotting, dealing with smaller holes. We really wanted
Mm-hmm.
to focus on beads that, have a little, they're not large hole beads by any means, but
No,
they
but
have
they
ones
have
that,
it's
yeah.
probably 1.5 millimeter, and it's not difficult. But it does take a little bit of planning beforehand. Like you cannot, if you want to do pearls, and I've knotted many, many, many pearls. The thing to remember is that you just have to use the cord that will fit. If the cord doesn't fit, you're not knotting those pearls. That's basically the long and the short of it. You're not going
Yeah.
to be able to.
And
You
you'd
just
have to
have
use
to
a
do something else.
Yeah, you'd have to use
And
a
you
very thin cord if you want to do this two cord technique.
Now, I have knotted pearls on very fine soft flex, and that works great. That works great if you don't want to do if you don't want to use nylon, and that's pretty much indestructible. And the reason we knot to begin with, the reason anybody knots was was for the purpose of if your necklace breaks, like this whole technique used to be strictly for pearls.
Mhm.
And if you had a strand of Tahitian pearls and each pearl is like $125, you don't want to put that on a single strand of silk and then just hope for the best. You want to be able to make sure that if something happens, if it gets caught on something, that if it does get cut, you only lose one or two beads. You don't lose your whole strand, doesn't go rattling to the floor because it's not
Sure.
knotted. That's the main reason that that exists in the first place,
But
aside from it being decorative.
yeah, for you, what is it that draws you to knotted pieces? Why does that kind of seems to have become one of your go-to techniques, instead of stringing or wire work?
Mm.
Why do you think you like it so much?
Well, I think knotting for me has come from the idea of like a mala or a prayer bead. And the point of those is for every one that you knot, you kind of say like a almost like a meditation or a prayer. And if you're making it for someone, you would think, you know, something positive, and you're almost locking
Mm.
that idea into place with every knot. And it just seems like a good way to create a piece with intention. And I think it just feels good, to have that. And that you've made like, you're making each decision a conscious decision, and each knot is kind of like holding that. It's kind of like you're making space for like, I don't know, say you want to, you know, have like a gratitude piece. Like my mom, she prays
Mhm.
every day and has a rosary, right? And so I think it's a similar idea where you go through and with each one, maybe you think about your gratitude for your health or for the health of the person you're making. And I feel like that just gives, instead of just a production line of jewelry that you're just cranking out, it gives it a moment in your day where you're meditating or focusing on something that's not outward or worldly, like just sort of like mindlessly working. It just sort of adds, I don't know, there's something extra, you know?
Yeah. I love that idea of using this process as a meditative process, as a gratitude process, a way to remind you to pause each time and think. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like it is a useful technique or tool to, in the creation. I mean, when you think about the purpose of a rosary or a mala, it's a tool for your mindfulness practice, or just to, take a moment and, get out of your own head.
Yeah.
Instead of like
We
focusing on
that.
something negative, you can take a moment to really reflect on the good things that are in the world and in your life. And just that sort of shift in focus can kind of get you out of a, a negative thought stream.
Yeah.
So you can see I'm moving pretty fast. I'm trying actually to go somewhat slower so you can see what I'm doing. But if you get so I've done several knots, and sometimes what happens is your cord can get sort of twisty. I'll just let it untwist for a second.
And Lynn had one piece of advice for folks on pearls. We don't need to keep talking about pearls in this class, but I thought I'd just throw it up for folks who are asking. You can take a look at this tip from Lynn.
Oh yeah, very thin will go through. That takes a lot more patience, I think. When you use very, very fine threads, you have to be very mindful not to pre-tighten, because boy, those knots to unpick are really difficult.
Oh yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
Really difficult.
But yeah, we're all about the beginner friendly projects here. We want everyone to be able to be creative, start making, designing their own pieces. So I love that this is so beginner friendly.
This is for sure beginner friendly. The hardest part, I think, is your design and making something that you like well enough that when you have it strung and you go through all the effort and time to knot it, you're happy with it.
Hmm.
So some of the things you want to consider when putting together a piece is the weight of the beads. You don't want something to have the weight too heavy on one side. A lot of times I make pieces where they are not symmetrical, not even a little bit. Like this piece here, I'm done knotting this, but it is not symmetrical. You see, so I have a bunch of different textures and weights. Like this hand carved, I made this on a lap grinder. It's a piece of amber, but it's very lightweight. And this is a hand carved ruby, and it's heavy. So what you don't want to do is to have one side all lightweight and the other side heavy, because what you'll do is the necklace will always fall in the direction where, instead of it being like, necessarily like this, you want it to be where I like to make these where they can be worn any different way. But this one was designed to be like this. So I had to balance it with the weight and the visual weight, which means you don't want to have something that's like too large, and then on the other side it's like kind of skimpy, so it kind of looks odd, you know. So in this case, I've balanced it with this little bit of texture on here, which is what I consider like the visual equivalent on the other side. All right, where am I on this? Okay, so we're almost at the halfway, or no, here we are at the halfway point. And so what you want to do, you have this, here's your halfway, and here's my bead to determine the halfway point. So I'm going to give myself about this long, maybe 8 inches or so. I don't know how much that is. That's 6 there, maybe a little extra. Doesn't hurt. Cord is cheap. One of the things you don't want to do is cut it like this, because then trying to do knots on a little bitty small short piece of cord is a recipe for frustration and anger. So give yourself, you can always trim the extra off and use the extra to make, little decorative elements. So here's where we're going to just cut it. I'm going to set that aside. That's one half of the necklace. And the other side is ready to go. I'll move the reminder bead over. Give myself a little more play. And start at about the same amount. I think that's about 8 inches again. And start with that first bead. Or first knot, I mean. There's your first knot. It's a simple I guess overhand knot. I don't know what you call it. Knot. Most basic, easiest knot. Pull. And then you begin again. I love these melon beads, Rachel. They're really charming. They're faceted. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they're faceted. I
Yeah, that is what's
love
so special
beads.
about them. Yeah, melon beads are usually very, they're smooth beads
Smooth. They're
normally.
usually smooth.
Yeah, so then I don't know, we've discovered these in the last, I mean, it feels like it's less than a year, I think. It hasn't been that long, and they've become a favorite here at the shop, beloved by the the Sam bead shop community, the Sam fam. They just with that faceting, and then these ones also have an AB wash on them as well. It just gives it all this extra sparkle, and it has a little bit more of a handmade look because these facets are hand done on the beads. It's the really gorgeous check glass bead, but really special.
I think so. One thing I want to point out is give yourself a little bit of extra. Sometimes the weight of the rest of the beads can like weigh down the cord, and you might have to pull, say you have a few over here, but you don't want the whole weight of these determining, like kind of fighting with you. You don't want that like hanging down and then accidentally tightening your knots. So I add maybe, I don't know, is that like 18 inches? I give it a little bit of room so I have room to move. And it
Yeah.
makes it faster. It seems counterintuitive, but it is actually faster to do it this way. And it is faster. I know people have argued with me on this and said, well, you could do one side at a time and string it as you go. Yes, you can do that, but trust me, this is faster to do it. Where you string this part, you string this part, and then you just cut it because it's already strung. You don't have to sit there and make another needle, because otherwise you'd have to stop what you're doing, make a needle, and then move on. And so what I like to do is try to do as streamlined a process as I can. So
Mhm.
with this, I know that we have to add the clasp to one side, right? So this is the side I'm going to add a clasp to. Say we'll do this clasp here, but I have to make a loop for it. So this needle, which has already been done, can easily take some beads, and you could do the loop on this. So what I'm going to do is I need a loop, and I'm going to do this now because even though I should still be stringing this, I want this out of the way. Partly because I have this already finished. This needle is already
Yeah.
finished, and I'm going to add the seed beads to this end, and then I'm going to cut this part off. But you know what? I'm not going to pitch this part. I'm going to use this part to add this on.
You're
And
not
that's
gonna
why,
waste anything.
no, you don't have to waste anything. It's already done. You don't have to glue twice or three times. You just have that ready to go. And with this already hardened and ready, you just have to do, I mean, I'm going to string these on. I'm going to try and do it quickly, but it's kind of, these little bitty beads, I don't love stringing them. I try to use a little bit bigger. I'm going to get my optimizers in place. And so with that little needle on there, okay, I can't do that one-handed. I'm gonna have to do it with a little bowl or something. I'll pour a little bit in here. And I think I need with this kind of clasp, you want to do the width of this arm so it can slide in and go over the clasp. So I'm going to add these on, and they're big enough where, oh, this size does not fit. I'm going to get something a little bit larger because I did double.
Sounds good. All right, well, she's off getting that. We do have quite, let me bring back myself on the screen. Hey, everybody. We do have quite a bit of Green Girl Studios Element products here in the Sam's Bead Shop. So if you head over to samsbeadshop.com, or if you download our app, we have an app, Sam's Bead Shop. Look it up in the App Store or the Google Play Store, and and then search Green Girl Studios, and you will find we have toggles that would be great for a piece like this. We have so many pendants and charms. Check it out. We do not yet have this cool clasp piece that we're seeing today, but I think we're gonna have to pick up a few that look like that. So look out for more, but definitely check out what we do have right now. And if you go just for today, the December 6th, if you go to the Sam's Bead Shop homepage, I made sure that our Green Girl Studios stuff is right at the top of the homepage. So easy to find.
Perfect. So what I did here is I added, these are metal beads, and I love it when I hate it when I have these like really small holes. It's like not my favorite to fight with it. I don't like fighting with my beads. I like it when we all get along. All right. That might be long enough. So the loop has to accommodate the width of this clasp, this side, right? So let's see, let's test it, see if it's going to fit. And I'll just twist it so I can check it. And it has to go this direction. So it looks like it's not gonna fit, and I'm gonna need like 2 more. You don't want it to be too like loosey-goosey and too big, because then I don't feel like that's very secure, because then it can easily come out. I like it when it's just enough play for it to move, but not like loose. All right, so, and that's how it'll sit, like this. Okay, so to make the knot, I just do a very basic knot. Now, I'm holding it in such a way where I'm not going to make, it's like almost like a half. See? It's not, this is to position it. And it can be moved. Now, if you make that the full knot where it's wrapped around it, it's harder to maneuver. So I'll show you again. So I'm going to hold this in place like this, come back around, and go through. See? And that doesn't look like it's secure, but what the benefit is I can move it and tighten it. See? Just like this, so that it's not, the knot isn't free floating way up here. The reason you do this is so that you can move it around and get it close. And then once it's close like that, you can come in and then do a more detailed. So I'm coming in from this direction now. And that's a full. And that's nice and tight. And you could actually see if there's any play on this, I can actually go through, and it's almost like a macrame stitch. I can go in a couple of times. And see that? There you go. All right, so I'll add a drop of glue to this.
This is the same freight check that you used at the beginning?
You can let that dry for a second. Tighten it up, make it look tidy. And you had in here these knot covers, which are pretty cool, and you could do that. You could totally hide that knot in there with those covers. And I didn't use those on mine, but you could easily do it.
Oh, cool.
Easily.
Yeah, we have those as an option in the shop for folks as well.
Okay, so I'm going to trim this. Where's the scissors? Here we go. So I trim with about 1 millimeter. All right, don't throw that away. You're going to need it because it's already stiff on this side and ready to go. All right, okay, so we have this side done. To do the next side, let me see. Here it is.
We are going to bring it all together in the middle. All right, so folks have been wondering how this how this focal centerpiece happens, now's the time. Let's see it.
All right. It's like a bead show in here with how many lights I have going. Getting warm. All right. So I lay everything out, and I have all this extra. And the extra is good because then you don't have to fight with like a little short piece and trying to knot it. That's one of the most frustrating things in the whole world to deal with. So give yourself a little room. Cord is cheap. Your time, though, and if you're like, oh, well, I don't want to take I hate waste. Well, your time has worth. So wasting your time is, something you don't want to do either when you're considering, say, hey, it's like 5 cents of cord. Don't make yourself frustrated over 5 cents of cord. All right, so I'm going to knot it the same way that I did the loop. So I'm going to put my finger like this. I'm holding it, right? In this direction, I'm coming at it from here, right underneath. So you get kind of a loose knot. See that? It's not a full, like tying your shoe. You don't have that, like, it's not going all, it's not like, see how that is? It's like a half. Now, the reason you do this is so that you can adjust it. And see, I can tighten it here. Where if you do the other knot, which is going from this direction, it makes a more secure knot, but you don't need that right at the beginning because you're trying to place it. So while you're placing it, you're holding it tight. Then the next knot come in from the top. And see the difference in the knot? You have it, it's almost like it's a more complete knot. But see, the other difference is that this will have to be, if it's kind of free, with the first part of the first knot you're doing, you can't really move it around because once it's in place, you're going to have to pick it out. So that's why I do that kind of half knot to start. And after I get it in position, then you can go and tighten it up. So I'm going to add a couple more knots. And so if you get this situation where you have these loosey-goosey pieces, you can just tighten it. Make sure your knots are good and tight. And then you could add a couple more if you want to. Just so, if it gets too loose, you can always add a couple more. And if you don't like the way it looks, you can wrap it with something, or you can use a knot cover. There's a lot of different things you can do if you're not a big fan of seeing the knots. I personally like it, but if you don't like that action, it's not like mandatory. Now I have thread cutters. Where is it? Let me see. Here it is. So this is what I use to seal everything, and it's a thread zapper. This is one that I got from Kate from Bead Shop. But if you don't have that, here's the other way. So I just cut that off. There's about 1 millimeter. Now this is tricky, and I'm gonna try and do this as carefully as possible, because if you don't do this right, you'll have to do it again. Robin, this cord is nylon. All right, now get in position, brace your arms on the table, and take a deep breath and do this very carefully. So I have this little bit hanging off the edge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to seal it. I want to make sure I'm in the frame. I'm going to light this up, and you just want to touch that end of that cord ever so gently. And I use my finger. Obviously, I basically don't have fingerprints from doing a lot of this. They're always burnt away anyway. But you can put something where you could use the edge of it, like Kate does it, where she's like she hits it with the lighter and then uses the edge to do that. But now you can see that it's sealed. If you do this too aggressively, you can actually burn through, and then you're gonna have you kind of messed it up. You know what I mean? There's really hard to add cord back onto, like something like that. So make sure you're doing that when you have plenty of light and you're well rested and you're not gonna accidentally make a mess out of it. All right, so that's one side of the necklace right there. And to complete it, you would just do the next side the exact way that I showed you with this, and add the cord, or the clasp I mean, the same way that we added this. So you just repeat the steps back with knotting.
Awesome.
And
So they'll attach it.
Save some of this, but I save this last part, and I'll add this so that we can see how that's done. This is the stiffened
Yeah, I want to
piece.
see how the moon. Yeah, this is a pyrite moon. It's so cool.
It's really cool. So that's about, I don't know, 6 inches, 8 inches. I'm going to tie a little knot to this. And then I go through it a second time. And it's really hard to do this if it's not stiffened up. So that's why I save this little bit, because the hole, I mean, it's not a small hole, but if you were to do this with this loosey-goosey piece that doesn't have anything on it, it can be a real challenge to go through there twice. And I do that just because it's like a visual thing. It looks better to have that little bit of extra thickness. It's not necessary, but it just adds, it's a better and more secure look. So I have those two pieces. It's going through, that's 4 strands going through that. See, and it just looks visually a little more finished than just one smaller strand. So I'm going to go through the hole now of the sunrock.
And here you are thinking about where you position it, right? On that sun.
Now you could do it where you have a little bit of play so it can move, or you can do it where it's tighter up. Now on my sample, it's tight to the piece. We can choose to have it where there's a little more movement. And I'll go over it again, so it's like twice through, because visually it looks a little bit stronger, like that cord being a little bit thicker. It's like a design element. It's sturdy, and it'll be on there if you just use one point of thread, but I feel like it looks better. Now with this extra, I'm going to tighten this up and look at it and see if I like it. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. All right. And then I'm going to go around and make another knot. Okay, see there? So here we have the knot is in place for this spot. One thing you can do now is to do a kind of a little macrame trick, which is to wrap it a couple of times and then knot it. And you can do like little decorative knots. You could even leave that and put beads if you want, and I've done this many times. Like if this is longer, say you trimmed it maybe this long, you could put in little knots and then those can hang down. And the one thing that I like about this piece is that you can hang a lot of things from this. And that's what I designed it for, was like a point of contact.
Yeah, that piece has so many options. You can connect it from any side.
So then you can leave that there or trim, and then add your next side. But you're not going to do that till after you have this side completely knotted. Right? So this part's finished. I can trim this off at this point, and I can then add this, but I need to finish threading that and stringing it, or not stringing because it's already strung, but you finish knotting. at this
And
point.
then will you show us all again that your final completed piece, um, where one if folks folks are copying at home, if they finish this up, this is what they can expect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
beautiful. I love
thank
it.
you. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I mean, the finishing on this would take another 15 minutes or so to knot the rest of this and add
Hmm.
this little clasp. You could use a button, whatever kind of button or clasp that you want to use. You could use a lobster clasp. You could use,
I like the
whatever you want.
button idea. We have a lot of really cool check glass buttons in the shop. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, and then it's comfortable. So all you have to do to finish this off is position it and do a knot the same way that this was done and add it to your piece, trim it and seal off the edges with the lighter or the thread burner. And then you can attach the other side the same way that we added this component.
So
And then you're done.
would you be willing to flip your camera around and just put it on for a moment?
Oh, sure, sure.
Awesome. I'll let you flip your camera around. I hope folks enjoyed picking up all these incredible knotting tips. I feel like we just had a master class and so many different tips to help you if you're just getting started, or maybe you've done this for a bit and you've probably learned some things as well. So Cynthia is going to flip her camera around so we can see it being worn. I think that's always nice. Um, but if you could, it would help us out a ton, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. Could you give this video a like? That shares with the with the algorithms that you like that you liked this video and other people should check it out. If you have a friend who might enjoy learning how to knot, just send this video to them. We'd love to have more people learn how to do this. All right, let me add Cynthia back on. Oh my gosh, yes. Look at it, guys. This is what it looks like once you finish your piece.
I think it came out pretty good. And you know what? Now that I look at it, I really like this. And I think it'd be even really cool to add like a few decorative, like long pieces. Don't you think with
Hmm.
like a trail of maybe 6 millimeter? I don't know. I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
potential. A
No,
lot
I
of potential.
love both the like this one is a little the simplicity, but yet detail of this. But yeah, you could embellish this in so many cool ways.
And here's how the back looks
You
or
know,
the neck.
it's kind of like you made a gradient with the color blocking. It has that feel
Mhm.
to it.
I'm a big fan of color blocking and color flows. I feel like that's one of the joys of beading is
Hmm.
taking the time to really make sure your layout is impeccable. And for me, that's the fun part. I could lay out beads all day long. It's
Yeah.
really, and
I feel
I feel
I'm matching you in a brown sweater, but I need my necklace. I have to start making.
I know, it's so fun.
So
I think this is
funny.
one of my more meditative and relaxing techniques that I like to do. And I've shown this
Yeah.
several times before. I was telling my in my group that and I was like, I know you guys have seen me knot before because I do. I've done this on our Sunday Night Live. We do one. I don't know if you've seen Rachel, but we have a Sunday Live that we do every Sunday at
Yeah,
7
where can people
Eastern
find
time
that?
on our Facebook and YouTube page. It's Green Girl Studios if you're interested. And I generally do about an hour long tutorial every week. And then sometimes we do a live sale, sometimes we don't. It just depends if I have a
Cool.
show that day or not. But
And
if
that's
you're
7
interested,
p.m. You said
Eastern.
7 p.m. Eastern time Sunday night, so 4 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's 4 p.m. And sometimes I've done it when I'm on the east or on the west coast. So it's kind of,
Hmm.
it's kind of fun to be on the different, it's like daytime there and then like
Yeah.
night.
I know. I For you it's the evening. I'm like it's still the afternoon over here.
I know it's all dark outside now,
Yeah.
but
It probably will be soon.
it's
Well,
really fun.
it's so cool. This is gorgeous. I mean, it's so gorgeous. I love how it brings check glass, gemstones, metal all together. Really cool. So I just want to thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for all the love in the comments. Um, Cynthia really is an incredible teacher. So thank you for sharing this with all of us. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I'm so glad that everyone could join us today. It looks like we have a lot of people with us today. That's pretty amazing,
Yeah.
and it's awesome because we can keep doing this, right? We can keep,
Yeah. I would love to do more. You have such great ideas. So check out, head over to Sam's Bead Shop, take a look at all the Green Girl Studios pieces that we have. Check out the gemstones and check glass. And if there's other Green Girl Studio pieces we need to get in the shop, let us know. We want to get some more. So thank you all
Yeah,
again. And yeah,
it's
and
wonderful.
have,
Don't be afraid to buy from our retailers. You don't have to stick. Some people think it's more loyal to buy from Green Girl Studios, but you know what? We love it when you buy from our retailers because then they do
awesome.
all the waiting. You guys do all the waiting, and so then when you order from Sam's Beads, then you get it whenever you order. I
Yeah,
mean, as fast as they
yeah, the
can ship
next,
it out when you get it. When you
exactly.
order from me, I've got to make it. So keep that in mind. You got to make
Cool.
it. I would love to see any pictures. If you guys make some and you
Yeah.
use our beads, please go to our Green Girl Studios gang Facebook and share it there. You can share it on Sam's Beads as well. You guys have a wonderful group as well. And it's awesome to share and show what you've
Yeah.
made. We love seeing it.
Yeah, whatever nodding pieces you come up with, please share it in the Gem Chat Facebook group and the Green Girl Studio gang. So thank you all so much and happy holidays. We'll see you later.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Bye.